Just waiting 1 more minute. Okay, it is 2 o'clock. We can go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa DeLuca. I'm the co-manager of the University Libraries Data Services Group. Chelsea Barrett, our wonderful business librarian, is part of that team as well, and she's going to run through some examples in Power BI today, showing you how to identify diversity in the workplace. So thank you for coming. Karina, you're our favorite student, and you have all these great things to put on your resume. So thank you for coming, and I will turn things over to Chelsea.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and thank you everybody for coming. I know it's a snowy day in the middle of a pandemic, but I appreciate you coming by. So before I start with the presentation, I do want to do a plug for our SHU Data Services team. I am a part of that team. It's fairly new. Lisa DeLuca is on the team as well as a few others. And we have library staff and faculty available to do workshops for your classes, for overall workshops if you have any softwares that you would like to see how you can use them, how they are used. You can definitely reach out to us for that. And we also do one-on-one consultations. If you have any questions in your research process and you need some help, we can help you find, manage, analyze, and visualize your data, whether it's for your coursework or again, for personal research. So it is open for the SHU community, and you can book appointments with us on our website, and you can also reach out to us via our email on the slides. These are some of the softwares that are supported by the data services team, and this is not an exhaustive list. We are continuing to grow this list, and we are very proud of the buy-in from the university. We were able to get a campus-wide STATA license. It is a statistical analysis software free for the SHU community. We also do SPSS. We had a Love Data Week presentation on our previously, and we also have gotten some licenses to Atlas TI. So again, this is not an exhaustive list, but these are some of the softwares that we do support. So if you have any questions about any of these, you can feel free to reach out to the data services team. Thank you for allowing me to do my plug. And now I will get to why you are all here today. My apologies if my technology goes out a little bit. So this is a presentation on Power BI, how to identify diversity in the workplace. And this is something that, again, you do not have to be a business person to be able to maneuver through, but I'm going to show you a little bit about Power BI, how you can maneuver through it, and just give you the confidence to be able to try it on your own. And then maybe you'll be able to implant it in some of your own presentations and things you present to your organization. Maybe you have a manager or a supervisor and you have an initiative. This can probably help bolster what you're saying. So just to introduce myself, my name is Chelsea Barrett. I am the business librarian at Seton Hall. I support the Stillman School of Business and the associated Buccino Leadership Institute. I'm also a member of the SHU Data Services team, and I am a Power BI user. And I have been using it for a bit of time, but I'm going to take you through the basics and maybe get a little bit on an intermediate level today. So if you have any questions throughout, please feel free to put it in the chat. Lisa, feel free to interrupt me if you need to, because I know it's better to answer in real time, but hopefully I can get you through this and you'll understand Power BI and you can take a skill with you when you leave. So what we're going to be discussing today is what is Power BI? And this is just for those of you who do not know what it is. It may seem a bit daunting, but it really isn't. You'll see how easy it is. You'll see how it can be used, how it is used, and then maybe you may find some features that may help you with a project you're doing. Why we use Power BI. This is probably more so one of the more important things I want to touch on today, because there are a variety of different data visualization tools. There are a plethora of other platforms that you could use, but I want to emphasize Power BI today, and hopefully it has some value for you. Then I want to talk about the functionality of Power BI, and that is pretty much in line with how Power BI can be used to identify diversity. This is where I'm going to take you through a live demo where I show you how to use it, how you can publish your work, and also, if we have time at the end, I do want to show you a really well-developed dashboard so you can see how it starts when you're at the beginning and then to where you get to an advanced level. So this is just a list of some corporations that have been cited as using Power BI, like Walmart, Toyota, Apple, I said Apple, oh my goodness, Apple, Dell, and many others. And I put this slide in specifically to kind of show and give a little bit of context on why we're talking about this today. These are companies that have millions of rows of data. And the fact that they find value in a tool like Power BI, where myself as a librarian, I can use Power BI and find use, it shows you the variety of how useful this really can be. So what is Power BI? Well, it was first released to the public in 2015, and Microsoft Power BI, the BI stands for Business Intelligence. Do not let this scare you because it's not as strict as you might think. So business intelligence refers to the methods used to analyze and present business information. This can be any information, any data that is within a business. Because as you know, there are so many things going on in a business. You know, a library is a business. Your organization is a business. So there's so many facets of data. And Power BI was created to fetch relevant data and present it in an understandable format. And I want you to think about maybe 30 years ago, where companies were relying on using files, going in and sifting through all this information to try to get to insights. It's timely, it's prone to human error, and it's probably not as efficient. Power BI is able to take all of this data that you have in a matter of seconds, and with your help, turn it into meaningful and useful information. So this is more so for the SHU community, but if you have access to LinkedIn Learning modules, I would urge you to definitely look to these for more information, because there is a lot of information on how you can use this BI tool and the many different features and facets of it. So why Microsoft Power BI? Well, we already kind of touched on it previously. You're able to make data-driven decisions. That is really important for organizations specifically, because data-driven decisions really help drive customer satisfaction and other things that really boost your company. You will see that there are a lot of organizations like Facebook and other social media platforms and websites that are so desperate for your data. And you may not know why, but you can tell with the targeted ads and the way that they structure their algorithms, they're using your data to help them, to make sure that they become profitable and their organization, their features are being used, because the data that they're getting from you, whether it's what you're looking at, what you're searching, it helps them. So there are different ways that data can be used, but data-driven decisions are things that companies really do value. So if you are able to take all of the data from a company, whether it's millions of data sets or whether it's a sheet in Excel, and make data-driven decisions, that is a win. That is something that you can use. You can also use it to support your narratives. So if you have an initiative at work, for instance, and maybe you're trying to say, you know, I noticed that a certain subdivision in the organization is not diverse. It has maybe gender discrimination. As opposed to you going to your boss and saying this, having the ability to have the metrics and the visualizations to support what you're saying is very useful. It has basic functionality as well. It's very intuitive to use. It is a Microsoft product, and a lot of us do use Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. It has the same sort of structure. So it's very intuitive, and you do get prompts as you go through it. It also allows for planning and smart decision making. That's sort of related to data-driven decisions, but it takes it a bit further, where if you have the story, now you can say, okay, if it is true that this division is hiring more males than females, now we have to make a cognizant decision to make sure we're getting job ads out to an equal amount of qualified men and women. There are different ways you can use this, but it definitely does help you make better decisions. And it saves time and it promotes efficiency, because we all know that staring at an Excel spreadsheet for 2 hours sometimes causes you to go cross-eyed, get a little distracted, and Power BI does all that work for you in a matter of seconds. So what you do in Power BI is you will create specialized reports based on the data that you have imported in to create a dashboard, which is pretty much the picture that you see on the right, where you have all of this information in little visualizations. They call them tiles, and you can just see different things. You can see total category volume, total percent units, market share, and it's visually appealing, but it's easy to understand. So this is something that you can present and share to your managers, to your stakeholders, to all others who are interested in your narrative and in your story. And it's very easy to do. So if you're doing a PowerPoint presentation, rather than you just stating facts and figures and, cluttering your space with all of those words that people are probably going to gloss over, you can provide a visualization that they can look at. It's interactive, so they can see the numbers in real time. And this is something they can take with them and show to other people as well. So the most common question I get for Power BI is, what are the basic skills that I need? Do I need to be a businesswoman? No. Do I need to have a degree in business? No. Do I need to be a data scientist? No. All you have to know how to do are these steps. And they may seem intimidating when you look at them, but they're pretty easy to navigate through and understand. So the first thing you do is you clean your data pre-import. This is with any data project. You make sure that your data is consistent. You make sure that it's accurate. You make sure that you're not missing anything pre-import. Then when you go into Power BI and you begin to import the data, you will have another opportunity to further edit your data. So if Power BI notices that maybe you have your values and one value, for whatever reason, is a decimal as opposed to a whole number, you can edit it in there. If you need to delete a column, you can edit it in there, and I will show you that as well. You can then import your data officially in, and once you do that, you start working. Then you begin to create your visualizations, and this is where you can have a little bit of fun here. You can change the colors, you can create, visualizations based on different fields. And it's really interesting. As you grow in your acumen and expertise, you can really create some really great visualizations. Then you will share or publish your reports onto the online interface, and then you create your dashboard to share. It's very easy. If you've used Tableau, it's somewhat of a similar functionality. So how can we use Power BI to identify diversity? This is why we're all here. We're trying to see how we can use this tool to identify diversity, whether it's in our organization, if we're an entrepreneur, maybe identify diversity in our customer base. It could be anything that you have data to support. So how can we use Power BI to identify diversity specifically? Well, first, we want to talk about types of diversity, because typically when we hear the word diversity and we think about the workplace, the first place we go is racial diversity. Are there enough Black people to supplement the amount of white people? Are there Asian people in the organization? Are there Native Americans? Is it representing the population that exists, that we serve? And that is a very valid type of diversity, but there are other types. There is cultural diversity. There's age diversity, which refers more to age discrimination. If you are hiring a certain type of age, or if you're avoiding hiring a certain age group, that can be a type of diversity as well. Gender, as gender is evolving right now, that's something to consider as well. But even just looking at gender, is it being skewed toward a certain gender? Also, religious diversity. Are all religions able to be represented? Are all religions, is it an inclusive environment? So there's a lot that you can dive into depending on the data that you have, and depending on the data that you collect from the people in your organization, or just what's available to you. So we can use Power BI to identify areas where diversity is prominent or lacking in an organization. What I want to emphasize here is, though the data may tell you a story based on what you've put in, there also may be other variables to consider. So for instance, if you notice that you have a predominantly white workforce in your organization, your first thought may be, oh my goodness, that's a lack of diversity, we need to fix it. But then you have to consider, if the majority of the population is white, then it may have to do with where you're targeting your job ads, or it may just be who's applying. Maybe you're getting local applicants as opposed to international and global. So there are other variables that may affect what diversity looks like in your organization. So keep that in mind. You can also use Power BI to view diversity in an organization within subgroups, such as departments. So if you notice that the overall picture may show an area is not diverse, maybe you have a specific department that's only hiring a certain race or a certain age, or avoiding hiring a certain religion, then you can kind of look and see, okay, there may be a trend here, and let's explore that. And then you can create a visually appealing narrative to share with those interested in your findings. So all of the things that you will do in Power BI, you have the ability to then structure a dashboard the way that you see fit. So you can do a plethora of visualizations, but you make it the way that you want the story to go. So if you're trying to say, no, I think that this is a diverse organization and here's why, you will structure your data that proves that. And you shouldn't exclude data to make your point. That's something you really shouldn't do. This is more saying structure it in a way where the storyline flows. And you'll see how the visualizations are also interactive with each other, and that can also really help you. So how do we begin? Well, the first thing that you have to do is download Power BI Desktop. This is going to be your workspace. This is going to be where you actually create your visualizations, your reports, and then publish onto Power BI Web. Now, I urge you to do both of these before you even begin working, specifically because when you finish with Power BI Desktop and you create your reports and everything is done, you have the option to publish. And if you already have your Power BI web account set up, it will automatically publish it and give you a link so that you don't have to sign in and do anything else. It just takes you right there. And I'll show you what that looks like. It makes it very easy to do. And then have your data ready for import. And this is something that is data cleaning. If you need help with that, because sometimes you may have data that is a bit more complex than what you signed up for, you can definitely reach out to the data services team and we can help you with that as well. So I'm going to go into the live demo now. So you are tasked with using specific data to analyze gender and race within your organization. Let's walk through a potential case. So the first thing I want to do is show you my data. So this is data that I have put into an Excel spreadsheet. It has been, the names of the people within the organization have been removed so that there is that sense of anonymity and they're not able to identify immediately who this person is. So you want to make sure that you do that. Make sure it's as anonymous as possible when you're doing your data, especially if it's being shared. So the employee ID is their identifier. And then I have their race, their salary, their employee age group, their gender, department, state, etc. Now, I have already put this into a table, and the reason is because that makes it easier for the BI tool to pick up on the fact that these in row 1 are the fields or the labels that house all of this data. So there are 670 employees. So for me to sift through all of these may take me a while to try and do these insights and to try and get this, together in a presentation, whether it be for my supervisor or just for myself. What insights does this data have? Because data does tell a story, and Power BI helps you to unveil that story. So let's take a look at Power BI Desktop. So if you click on this icon down here, once you download it, you will have it available. If I click on that, it will begin to open. Okay. So when you first open Power BI, you will get this yellow screen. This is not something that you need. I like to have it there just for reference, but if you don't want it there, you can always click show, deselect show the screen on startup. So you have videos here that can help you. We are doing building reports and uploading your reports. So if you needed more help with that, you could definitely look at these videos for reference. Query view concept is a bit more advanced, but you can always feel free to look at that as well. On the right, you see we have a link for tutorials if you need more help with that, and you can download a sample to work with. On the left-hand side, you can click on Get Data, and that is where you have the opportunity to import your data into Power BI. Because some of you may opt to get rid of this screen, I'm actually going to show you how to do it on the desktop itself. So this is the Power BI desktop. This is your workplace. This is where you are going to be doing everything. So on the right-hand side, you will see there are a bunch of visualizations. The problem is if you click on one, nothing happens because, as Power BI will tell you, you need data to build your visual. So we have to import that. So I'm going to actually delete this so that we don't, so that we don't confuse anything. So before I import the data, just a few things. You can see that the top is modeled pretty much like all Microsoft Suite products. So you have your ribbon with view, help, insert. Modeling, again, is for a bit more advanced Power BI users, but again, feel free to use that if you know how. At the bottom, it's also structured like Excel, where you can click page 1, page 2, page 3, and you can select in and label them for organizational purposes. So I'm going to just get rid of these because I'm only going to be doing one for this presentation. This is where you will build your report. And here is where you will see your data when you actually do import it. So let's actually import some data here so we can start working. So you can go here and import data from Excel. There are other ways you can import data, but typically import data from Excel is what you will do. If you go up to the ribbon, you will also see that it's up here as well. So they give you many ways to do this. So I'm going to click Get Data, and you can again see the list of data sources. So I'm going to click on Excel, and I'm actually going to go to my data set, diversity data. So before it actually gets imported into Power BI, it's going to show you this navigator page, and it's going to show you everything that is associated with this file. So sheet 1 and table 2 are pretty much the same. The only difference is sheet 1 is going to import everything that was in that file. This would only import the table. So if I had other information on sheet 1, then that information would be imported as well. But I only want the table that I showed you all, and they give you a truncated view of what it looks like. So you have two options. You can load it, which would import it officially into Power BI so you could start working, or you can transform your data. I always urge people to go to transform data because this is where you can take one last look at what you are importing. Because if you are working with inaccurate data, then your visualizations are going to be skewed, and there's really no point in continuing on. So I can look through, scroll down, and I see that I don't have any empty spaces, and I've already vetted this in the past, so I know that it's good. Just a few things. If you are trying to make sure you're consistent, that would be something along the lines of, if under state, I have New Jersey as NJ, I can't have it as New Jersey spelled out in another value, because then the BI tool may recognize it as two separate things, and that will skew my results. So you want to make sure you're as consistent as possible. You want to make sure there's no empty values as well. And if you have anything, maybe you decide you don't want the termination reason here and you don't want to bring unnecessary data in, you can click on remove columns and it'll get rid of it. But if you want it back, you can go to the applied steps on the right and select the previous step and it will bring it right back. So this is a place that's not permanent until you click close and apply. So as you can see, I have the fields highlighted here because I had it as a table, but Power BI is usually smart enough to know that if you have line 1 and it has labels like this, it'll automatically make it line 1 and it'll make it the field headers. If it does not, you can always go up to the top and click use first row as headers, and then it will do the same. So Power BI is a very smart tool. So I'm content with what my data looks like. I'm going to click close and apply. So now my data is being imported in. So again, it only takes a few seconds and all my data is there. The reason I know my data is there because if I go to the right, I have fields now that I can use to start to build my visualizations. So you can see this prompt here. It says select or drag fields from the fields pane onto the report canvas. So what they mean is you have the opportunity to either drag. So if I wanted to have this be gender and race, which was the question that I'm supposed to be answering. If I wanted to do, say, gender, I could drag gender over, and Power BI is going to choose what they think is the best visualization. So they're telling me the genders that you have are female and male in my data set. I want to also add the employee ID, which is now going to give me a total of females in the organization and males in the organization. I want to create another visualization. I'm not really fond of this. I think that, it could be better represented. Whatever Power BI decides, you do not have to be married to that. So I think it would be best in a pie chart. So I can click on the pie chart, and now I have a visualization, very easy, where if I hover over, it will tell me the percentages and the actual numbers for each of the fields. if I wanted to change things about this, for instance, if I wanted to, instead of saying EMP ID by gender, maybe I could say employee count by gender. So now that changes the title. So you can change it to fit your narrative. I can also change the color. If I so choose, I can go to the format here. Looks like a paint roller. Go to data colors, and maybe for female, I want it to be pink. So now I have this visualization and it's done. So I want to put it up here and I want to start another one. So maybe I want to do gender and the employee ID. And maybe I want to look at the department. So now you can see that the visualization that they've picked has it listed here. One thing that I do want to note is that if you select maybe a specific department, so this is saying the amount of females in the accounting department are 32. If I click on accounting, it will tell me how many females are, how many employees overall are female in accounting in this pie chart. So all of the visualizations are connected. And that's one of the really cool things about Power BI. So you can always just click again and it will go right back. So I want to explore some other visualizations, and I want to note here that not all of them are going to make sense because some of them, this has a lot of data within it. So if I selected, something like this, doesn't really make sense for what I'm trying to do. But maybe if I wanted to select this instead, that actually is a very nice visual. It's very simple, it's clean, and again, I can select and it will tell me how many in the overall. So let's do some with race as well. So I'm going to do race, and I'm going to do the gender ID and the EMP ID. So now I can see how many people per race. And that's listed here. I think that looks fine. So you can see like Asian female, Asian male. You have the option to sort by. So if you wanted to maybe sort by the EMP ID, which is the count, that's just the way that it's labeled in the data, then you can sort it, and now it's going from greatest to least, if that makes things easier for you to look at. So the white male is ahead of white female, and it goes first in order by race and then in order by number. So I think that's cool. I'm going to leave that there as well. And then I want to look at race by state. So I'm going to do race, EMP ID, and I'm going to do state. So again, they've given me the table. The table looks nice, but something that is very popular in data visualization is actually using a map. So I can actually get a geographic look at the race in each of the states listed. So if I look at New York, I can see the number of race, of the count of people who are certain races in each state. So I like that, so I'm going to leave that there. And we're kind of creating a little dashboard here, so you can always visualize it here, but these are just your reports. You can create as many as you want. If you wanted to do one on disability, one on age specifically, you could do that as well. So I'm just going to do one more. So I will do race, performance, and EMP ID. Okay. So this is showing the amounts. See, when you click on things, it happens. This is showing pretty much all of the races and who exceeded, was exceptional, leading, etc. So it's pretty much going based on the one second, I'm just trying to make this readable for you all because it is a lot. It's going through every single race. So this may not be something that we want to look at because now it's cutting into another one, right? So maybe we want to look at a different bar graph. Maybe we want to look at that. So let's make this smaller actually. So if you look at this graph, if you hover over each, you get the number, you get the percentage. So we have a few visualizations here that you can use that are useful. As you continue to go in and work with this, it'll become a little bit more intuitive and a little easier. So I'm actually going to publish this. So if you go up to the ribbon, you can click on publish. And because I'm already signed in, it will automatically take me to Power BI Online. So I'm going to save my changes and I'm going to put this as diversity data again. So now it's working on it and it's asking me, now that I'm signed in, it's automatically linked to what are called my workspaces. So these are almost akin to the teams on Teams, right? If you have a specific team, they're saying, where do you want this to go? What destination do you want it to go? So I'm just going to put it in my workspace. And now it's publishing to Power BI. And the reason I said to set it up beforehand is for that reason specifically, but also when it's done, you can click on open. And let me bring this over. And now your report is online. Now this is just your report. This is not the dashboard. So if you wanted to create a dashboard, you can pin your visuals and you can create a new dashboard. So let me show you that again. You go to the visualization and there's a pin next to the title, pin visual, and you can click existing or new. So I'm going to click new and I'm going to put diversity data. So I will click on pin and then maybe I like this one too. I'm going to pin this one and we will go to diversity data. Same with this one. And, you just keep pinning until you're probably going to have more visualizations than this. I'm just, taking the shorter route because of time, but you have the opportunity to pin as many as you want. And you can also not pin whatever you want. So you'll see up in the right-hand corner, it actually gives you the opportunity to go to the dashboard. I just missed that opportunity because I took too long. But if you go to your workspaces, you can scroll down and it has your dashboards listed, but it also has your reports. So I'm going to actually go to the dashboard so you can see what we've implanted. And now you can see that these are the visualizations that we have implanted here. You can move them around as much as you want. And the more visualizations that you do add in, the more it's going to look amazing. So I am going to show you pretty much how you can structure a really advanced one. But if you wanted to share, you can just share and then enter the email addresses and they will be able to access this dashboard. So I do want to show you really quickly. I know we're running short on time. This is a data set that was created by Agile HR Analytics. This is their demo version. So this isn't even the whole version. And it's really, really interesting to look at to see how advanced these dashboards can get. So if we click on diversity, you can see that they've created visuals, they have diversity here, they have head count by seniority and gender, and they have it throughout the years. 2017, which is different data, 2018, and then 2019. So this is something you can take to a boss, a manager, and show them, the difference over the years, and then you can actually make decisions based on this. So for instance, if you look at 2017, the head count by seniority and gender, you can see that women were pretty much dominating this. 2018, women are still dominating, but the male is getting higher. But by 2019, it starts to decrease and women are still, holding the majority. So that may show some sort of gender bias here. But again, that's something you would have to look at other variables to figure out and make sure that you are not, adding something where it doesn't need to go. You can also look at Gen X versus Gen Y. Are they hiring more of whichever? And you can see that they're hiring more Gen Y than Gen X. If you click on either of them, you can see that the whole chart begins to change, which is really, really cool, especially if you are presenting this to a boss, a stakeholder, etc. This is real time, and this is all specifically for Gen Y at the junior level. And you can see the gender diversity here as well.
Chelsea, we have one question about, can you export the reports into PowerPoint and other applications?
Absolutely. You can export into PowerPoint and PDF, and you can also analyze in Excel. This is a read-only right now. So that's the only reason why you can't, but you have so many capabilities with Power BI, and they continue to update almost every year. So you'll always find something new, and they're continuing to grow and grow and grow as more companies are using it, as more people are using it. So it's really, really interesting.
It's amazing.
And thank you. So I'm going to start wrapping up. I just looked at the time. Sorry.
It's okay. You're doing.
It's really exciting. This is a great tool. So I hope that people will use it, and just to see the capability here of what you can have. They have other things here as well, like historical trends. So you can see like the head count of female versus male for the years, and you can put them side by side. So you can get that comparative analysis almost immediately. And you can look at open positions. You can, if you click on one, for instance, let's see how many females, were hired. You can see that in January of 2020, there were 4 hires of women. So there's so many interesting insights that you can get in terms of diversity from Power BI. And I wish I could talk to you all way more about this because it's so interesting, but I will wrap up now and take any questions if need be. But thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chelsea. This was fantastic. You make this look very easy to use. One question is, do you know if there's a size limit for Excel data?
Well, we have the Pro account at Seton Hall, so we have a lot more capabilities than others. So it holds a lot of data. I don't know the number offhand because I know that they just updated what they said, but before it was well over 10,000 rows of data. I think it was 1 million at one point, but I don't want to give false numbers.
Yeah, of course.
But definitely there's a lot of capability here with the Pro account. And that's why I encourage people at SHU to use it, because you have so much that you can do with this.
Okay. Do you have any advice? So, we have some students here, we have library faculty and staff, we have professors. How do you choose the tool, right? How would you decide if, I'll stick with Excel, or I'll try Power BI. There's Tableau.
Well, Power BI is typically used by businesses. Unfortunately, that is the case because it is a business intelligence tool and
Okay.
that's what they're structuring it toward. I would use Power BI if you are trying to make business related insights, just because the visualizations are more geared toward that. But
Right.
you can use it and you can substitute it with Tableau as well. You know, Tableau has different visualizations. Just use whatever works best. And if you know the visualizations in your head, then you'll maybe say, oh, for this project, Power BI would be better, etc. Excel is okay, but there are limitations with the visualizations. So definitely go to data visualization tools.
Right.
Tableau will be discussed, I believe, on Thursday, right,
Right.
Lisa?
Yes, the
So,
dashboards.
so
So you can come back
definitely,
and compare.
exactly. So people can definitely, you know, choose whichever works best.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Nothing in the chat. Lots of thank yous. We have a presentation at 3 o'clock with Tony Levisic from the business school about portfolio optimizations that his students have done, if you can join us for that. Otherwise, thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Luisa, for your help. Luisa is working with us from Brazil, so that's kind of exciting. And have a good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.